We've moved from Britain to Italy, and we're on our way to Turkey. We're going back in time and distance. There is a famous bronze tablet. Now, you've got to realise bronze is extremely valuable. But there are 3 sections to it. And the first one says how the people are in a place where there's great pestilence and storms, and they're unhappy. And they are taken and led away from this, and they follow a little cabinet riding in a cart.
So this is the Ark?
I think so. And they come to a place where they are content and happy, and that's where they live. The second section says they're happy where they are, but they're taken away forcibly, right, to a place where they are unhappy, and to get there they follow a little cabinet that rides in a cart. And the third story is that they again take off and they go and follow the little cabinet.
Because of the pestilence?
And no, the pestilence is the first one.
Yeah.
The second one, they're forcibly taken away.
Okay.
And the third one, they're unhappy where they are, so they take off and they go.
And half of them go to Etruria. That's in Herodotus. Half of a nation goes to Italy, Etruria. The other half stayed there till about 500. And then they come to the UK. Now, we knew if that little box that rides in a cart is the Ark, taken from Jerusalem, not south by little baby Menelik in his carrycot to Ethiopia, went north, right? And if it went north and it went to Dardanelles, it either went to Italy, Etruria, or it came to the UK.
We have established a firm trail, and a trail of the people, which matches the histories.
With evidence?
With evidence. If the alphabet's right, the translation's right, our histories say they gathered on an island of Lacotia,
Lemnos.
Lemnos. And it all seems to work together and fit very, very well.
So where do they land in the UK?
Well, certainly one group landed in Cornwall. Another group appeared to have landed in South Wales in the Aberavon area. There's a famous story of one of the local kings opposes them, and there's certain, I think, that one group would have landed in Totnes in Cornwall, Devon area.
Devon, yeah.
I would think so, yeah. That's very well sort of, I mean, it's so solidly thought on there, I wouldn't doubt it. But another major group would have come up the Severn to South Wales, that's fairly obvious.
Right. Cardiff and the valleys that are on there always had a legend, and the legend was known to me when I was a young kid, in the 30s now. Everybody said about it, it was just a local story. There's a great big box somewhere, a wooden box, and inside this wooden box is a great treasure. And the box is guarded by what they, in Welsh, two cig fran goa, which means flesh-eating crows, ravens. A cherubim of old time wasn't a nice little angel, he was a fearsome dragon beast with wings, you see.
So there are 13 ancient tales in Wales, and they're called the Mabinogi.
The Mabinogi?
No, they've restyled them the Mabinogion, which means children's tales, which has shielded them from the church, I think. But the Mabinogi seems to mean origins. So we realised that these were genuine tales saying things about storms and comets coming into our solar system, Venus going out of orbit, which is matching the ancient observations of Babylonian and other observatories. They say, oh, these guys didn't know what they were doing because Venus didn't do that. It did.
Okay.
So we then had a new couple of other stories which really are how to read the stories. You follow me? It's all wound up with names, but they're really talking about planets and so on. But the last 3 are important, and the last 3 are Peredur, son of Evroc. Peredur is Steel Shirt. He's the planet Jupiter. There's Geraint and Enid. Geraint is Mars, strength. And the other one is Owen, and Owen is Orion. When you realise their solar stories, you're going to realise that we've got constellations in the heavens, and the planets move through the constellations because they orbit in the sun.
All over South Wales, Glamorgan, Gwent, there are huge mounds, mainly on hilltops. Huge earth mounds, I mean really big earth mounds, size this room. Some are smaller. And my colleague said to me one day, he said, Alex, what's that one up there, you know? And I said, he said, a bloody, I said, a bloody head. Oh, I said, that's a ferocious warrior. And sometimes a penny drops, doesn't it, you know? We'd already learned, ignore the Greeks, ignore the Romans. You want to find something out, ancient Arab, ancient Hebrew, ancient Egyptian names. The ancient Arabs, Hebrews, and Egyptians called the star constellation Hercules a ferocious warrior. And a penny was dropping, oh boy, because over to the other direction is Tumbalu, the he-goat, Capricorn. And over the other way, we had a bloody boat ship on the top of the hill, and that was spot on for the great constellation of Argo. Now, if you've got 2 or 3 stars, you can triangulate and find a pole star. Am I right? So we did, and it's a standing stone. And from there, we found all these big mounds. They're all named and located for stars, the major stars in the heavens. So you got a star map on the ground. They go on about the NASCAR drawings, don't they, in Peru? We got something better and bigger. We got huge mounds stayed up, a gigantic map of the stars in mounds. Just outside Cardiff on the Garth Mountain, there's 2 big ones and 1 little one. It's right for the belt of Orion. Down in Morganstone below, big one in the woods. And you can find the 4 outlying stars of Orion. Come across the way in Cardiff, houses built all around it. Taurus, big mound. Another one on the other side of Cardiff, on top of the hill. Aries are up, and you go on the Capricorn. And they're everywhere. And that's how you get after the Ark. All you got to do is find Regulus, which is the biggest of the lot. You see, we said Regulus because Regulus star is the biggest star in Leo, the lion. And Leo the lion is the emblem of Judea and Jerusalem. So we thought there's a good chance that that's it.
So it is suggested that the large earth mounds found all over South Wales were laid out by the ancients in a pattern to specifically represent first magnitude stars of various constellations. Wilson and Blackett have produced many star mound maps which confirms this theory. The mound which represents the star Regulus turns out to be at a place called Undecipherable. Just outside this village is a prominent hill or mound. According to Allen, the top section of this mound is man-made.
Is this where the Ark of the Covenant is?
Yes, in our opinion, yes, and yes, and I'll tell you why.
It's a man-made mound, about 4 acres of it, 60 feet high, all man-made, on top of another hill. Someone in antiquity built a stone wall around the top, right? No gates. Why did they do that? Why would they build a stone wall on the top of a Welsh hill? I do not know. But the inside area is called Golwg, which means place of worship. And the whole mound is undecipherable. On this enclosure of, or special area of, and then it's, if you've got BWL, it's special place. If it's BYL or BIL, it means Ark. There are 4 sumps on the north side, like big hollows in the ground. In the bottom are pits with white stones in them, right? The way they drained ancient chambers in Britain underground is they had a sump in the bottom of the chamber and they ran a little shaft, a tunnel down the hillside. And where it would then come out the hillside, made a little tick, so it came up into the bottom of one of these bowls. They have been excavated elsewhere. So water would run down into the chamber, be bled off down the shaft. It wouldn't rush out and do damage, it would come up in a tick. And there were these white stones filling up these 18-inch circular things in the bottom of the curved sump. It's like a saucer upside down, you know, sitting in a bowl. Perfectly made. Thing is, no weeds ever grew on these stones. So we got a sample and found there were 3 different sorts. One of our lads took them to the museum and other places. They turn out to be stones that can only be found in Cornwall, 300 miles away. So we know there are at least 4 underground chambers there.
Now, what we did, we got ground penetration radar, which we're not very good at working, so we need a better person to have a go with us.
Geophys, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
We got our lad from London. We have one of the world experts, fortunately. The first guy who was ever able to detect metal underwater. And he'd been out in Oz in Australia, then he was gold mining, and then he was out in Arizona, but he came back and he wanted to meet us. We got hold of him. He's got a metal detector, reads down 30 feet, and it'll tell you if it's ferrous or non-ferrous. There is an object there, 2 feet by 4 feet, and it's non-ferrous metal.
In order to verify Alan's claims of a 2 feet by 4 feet non-ferrous metal object being detected at Undecipherable, I telephoned Alan Hassel, who was operating the metal detection equipment. I spoke with him for about 2 hours on the telephone and have a full statement of how he scanned the hill by mapping out a grid and moving horizontally and vertically with a spacing of 1 meter between each scan. He confirmed that he did indeed locate a buried object which was approximately 4 feet by 2 feet made of non-ferrous metal. When the scanning was carried out, unfortunately the landowners were not there to witness the testing and were therefore slightly sceptical of the claims. No agreement has so far been reached with the landowners to carry out any excavation. I decided to go down to Wales to find out for myself what the landowners' opinions were. We're heading towards a place called Undecipherable, which is the location that Alan Wilson strongly believes the Ark of the Covenant is buried. And behind me is a hill on top of which is a man-made mound. The hill is, I'm not sure if this is the correct pronunciation, Twin Eglog, and according to Alan Wilson, the Ark of the Covenant is buried inside the man-made part of this hill behind me. And he has in the past tried to get this hill dug up. He's approached the Welsh authorities, he's approached the farmers. The farmers have been talked out of having any excavation done. So I'm intrigued to speak to the owners of the land, a farm just a few minutes down the road here. So I'm going to knock on the door and firstly ask them if they've considered, you know, getting this land dug up, because if the Ark of the Covenant is there, you're talking the most important object in archaeological history, if you like, is inside this hill in Wales, if Alan Wilson is correct. So I'm going to go and speak to them. I'm first going to ask them if I can have access to their land, just so that I can film on top of the hill and film the sumps which are along the side of the hill, which allegedly keep the whole chamber dry. I asked if I could go on the land to take some photographs, and straight away they said no. So then they wanted to know why, so I explained the fact that I'd followed some of Alan Wilson's work, and they were very well aware of Alan's work, and they explained to me what happened when he came here, and that he brought some ground penetrating radar here and he did some tests, etc. Now they said that they weren't convinced that he'd actually found anything, and they said that he hadn't actually shown them any concrete results that there was anything there, so therefore they weren't prepared to have their land dug up based on what they thought was nothing. But they then did say that having said that, they didn't go up there and see what he was doing. They didn't show much interest.
I think they're fairly open-minded, but I think they would, as we would, welcome academic participation. I mean, we'd welcome it. I have no bones about it. We did try to, we got somebody in the astronomy department of Cardiff University very interested in this,
Yes.
the mounds and the mirror. And he went to the history department and he went to the archaeologists and said, look, how about getting involved with this, you know? And they wouldn't.
They wouldn't, because
they said they'd been sort of a bust-up with us. There's not been a bust-up, we never spoke to them.
So I've persuaded them to at least have an independent person come on the land and do another test, and if they do find something there and they can demonstrate it to them, that they would possibly then consider having the land excavated. I can confirm that I have been contacted by a company that is willing to provide free ground penetration radar testing, and I am in the process of arranging a suitable date to carry out the testing. Wilson and Blackett's claims do not end there. They also claim to have located the resting place of the Holy Cross, also in Wales.